What if Dee finally got a break in Hollywood? What if, after years of ridicule, humiliation, failed auditions, and forgotten headshots scattered across casting directors' trash bins, Dee Reynolds actually landed the role that could change her life forever? What if, for once, the universe cracked open and the light of validation shone directly onto her awkward, bird-like frame? It began with a phone call, a casting director, real, professional, no Craigslist scam about background. Actors needed for medical reenactments. Wanted Dee for the role of Detective Kara Pike in a gritty thriller titled City of Chimeras. It wasn't glamorous, not exactly. The movie was a mid-budget police drama, helmed by a director known more for straight-to-streaming action than for Oscars. But it was a film, with distribution, with her name in the credits, with lines, real lines. Lines where she wasn't credited as woman screaming number 2. The moment Dee heard the words, she could already see the future unfolding. Red carpets, late-night interviews, Dennis forced to swallow his smug disbelief. Charlie weeping at the realization she was destined for greatness, Mac begging to train alongside Hollywood's finest stuntmen, and Frank trying and failing to buy his way into the industry she had conquered through sheer talent. For the first time, Dee felt destiny had picked her. But destiny, when filtered through the gang, becomes something else entirely. When she broke the news at Patty's, the reactions were exactly what she feared. Disbelief, mockery, and then the most dangerous of all, interest. Dennis leaned forward, narrowing his eyes the way a predator sizes up prey. "This is important," he said softly, smoothing his shirt cuffs. "Deandra, you're clay. You're brittle, untalented clay. But in the hands of a master, me, you can be molded into something resembling art." "I don't need molding," Dee snapped. "I already am art." "Wrong," Dennis said, slicing his hand through the air. "You're an ugly vase, useful for nothing except storing wilted flowers. But if I apply my system, the DNNIS method, adapted for career development, you'll radiate brilliance," Mac chimed in, puffing his chest. "And you'll need security. Hollywood is dangerous. I'll be your bodyguard. Think Kevin? Costner, but with more mass, more traps, more Christ-centered values. I'll stand behind you in every photo flexing." Charlie, his face smeared with mustard, declared, "I'll do lines with you. Not drugs, I mean, yes, also that. But your dialogue lines. I'm an acting guy. I can coach you. Like, when your character's sad, I'll tell you to act sad, but in a way that's deeper. You know, sad like a raccoon stuck in a pipe." Frank, emerging from beneath the bar like a sewer creature, slapped a wad of greasy cash onto the counter. "I'll be your agent. First step, we bribe the director. Then we get dirt on the producer. Then we get you in the editing room so you can cut out all the other actors?" "Absolutely not," Dee shrieked, clutching her script. "I don't need any of you ruining this. This is my chance." But the gang never hears no. To them, her Hollywood break wasn't Dee's opportunity, it was theirs. The first day on set should have been the happiest of Dee's life. She arrived early, hair done, script highlighted, ready to embody Detective Pike, a hardened cop with a haunted past. Instead, she found Dennis lurking behind the catering table, charming the costume designer with a monologue about his inherent cinematic magnetism. When she tried to shoo him away, he whispered, "I'm networking for us. You're welcome." Mac had positioned himself by the trailers, wearing a black polo and earpiece he bought at Radio Shack, declaring himself head of on-set tactical security. He blocked extras from walking near Dee's trailer, shouting, "Back up, star in." The zone, and then performing impromptu martial arts moves to demonstrate his readiness. Charlie had somehow smuggled himself in as a script intern. He carried a crumpled notebook filled with what he called Charlie's acting enhancements. These included, detective should hiss like a snake when mad, maybe she smokes rat bones, and more yelling, more drama. Every time Dee tried to rehearse, Charlie popped up with notes like, "Say it less good, like you're confused about what words are." And Frank had already found the producer, a weary man in his 40s, and offered him financing assistance in the form of a duffel bag filled with counterfeit euros. When that failed, Frank pitched product placement. "Let Dee drink rum ham in one scene. It'll kill overseas." By day 3, the director, a balding, exhausted man named Nathan Albright, looked ready to flee. "Who are these people?" he asked Dee after Mac tackled a grip for entering a restricted perimeter. "They're my support team," Dee said, her smile twitching, her voice cracking under the pressure of keeping the gang contained. "They're harmless. Mostly. Please don't fire me." But the gang wasn't satisfied with merely being on set. They wanted to shape Dee's performance. Dennis cornered her before a key interrogation scene. "Listen to me. Acting isn't about words. It's about control. You need to manipulate the audience the way I manipulate women. Breathe like a predator. Stare like a panther. Imagine the camera as a trembling virgin." Mac shoved in, holding protein shakes. No. Acting is physicality. It's about mass. Stand with your lats flared, traps pumped, fists clenched. Show dominance, like Christ at the crucifixion, but ripped. Charlie jumped between them, thrusting his notebook in Dee's face. "Hiss like a snake. That's how the audience knows you're dangerous." Frank leaned against the wall, burping. "Throw in some fart jokes. Every good movie's got fart jokes. Test audiences eat that up." Dee tried to block them out, focusing on her lines. But by the time the cameras rolled, their voices echoed in her head. She flared her nostrils. Dennis clenched her fists. Mac hissed between sentences. Charlie, and inexplicably added a fart sound effect, Frank. The result was a catastrophic performance so confusing that the director actually stopped filming and asked if she was having a stroke. The gang celebrated, of course. "That was electric," Dennis said. "You radiated controlled chaos. Total warrior energy," Mac agreed. Snake cop, Charlie chanted. "Farts kill." Frank laughed. Dee locked herself in her trailer and screamed into a pillow. But the sabotage didn't stop there. Dennis began shadowing the director, giving unsolicited advice on lighting, angles, and how to truly capture female beauty. Mac challenged the stunt coordinator to a series of increasingly humiliating tests of strength. Charlie filled the craft services table with rat stick snacks, claiming actors needed authentic Philly protein. And Frank, ever resourceful, offered to invest in the film by laundering money through a shell company called Patty's Pictures LLC. The production slowed to a crawl. Scenes had to be reshot because Mac wandered into frame, securing the perimeter. Dee missed key rehearsals because Charlie insisted on acting workshops that involved dressing like sewer monsters. This director finally snapped when Dennis tried to rewrite the script, turning Detective Pike into a sultry femme fatale who seduces suspects instead of questioning them. "I can't do this," the director muttered, massaging his temples. "This woman, this actress, is radioactive. She's unmanageable." The producer, desperate to salvage the project, rubbed his temples with both hands as if trying to squeeze ideas out of his skull. Finally, he muttered, "There's only one way this movie survives. We replace her." The director blinked. "Replace her? With who? We're already behind schedule, the budget's bleeding, and no actor wants to step into this disaster." "Not with who," the producer said, leaning forward with the gravitas of a man delivering history's dumbest idea. "With what?" "CGI," the director squinted. "CGI? Yes," the producer said, the words spilling out like a revelation. "Motion capture. We scan a bird, an actual bird, a hawk maybe, or something with gravitas. Then we slap some human. Features onto it, dub in the lines, and boom. Detective Pike becomes Detective Bird. It'll test better than whatever she's doing now. Audiences love animals. Pixar's built an empire on rats and fish. Imagine, our lead detective is a hawk in a trench coat." The director stared for a long moment, then gave a resigned nod. "Honestly, that might work." And so, by the end of the week, Dee's dream role, the part she'd screamed about, prayed for, clung to with every fiber of her fragile ego, was reduced to a digital hawk cop. A trench coat, a badge, a steely glare, and the voice of a different actress entirely. When Dee arrived on set Monday morning, determined to redeem herself after the snake hiss fart debacle, she found her trailer locked. Outside, a small crew of animators huddled around a nervous pigeon strapped into a green screen harness. They were scanning its movements into a computer while one of them shouted, "We need more wing flaps! Somebody toss some bread!" Dee froze. Script pages clutched to her chest. What the hell is this?" The nearest animator looked up apologetically. "We're reimagining Detective Pike. It's not you, it's the market." Her face drained of color. She staggered backward until she hit the curb and sank onto it, mascara streaking down her cheeks, the script crumpling in her hands. She let out a guttural sob that echoed across the lot. The gang, who had naturally followed her to the set despite multiple restraining orders, gathered around in what they considered supportive fashion. "Hey, a bird detective is still pretty." "Cool," Max said, kneeling beside her. "Birds are nature's warriors. Think about it. Razor-sharp talons, flight, hollow bones for speed. Honestly, you couldn't play that role as well as a hawk could." Charlie nodded enthusiastically. "Yeah, this is like cutting-edge cinema, Dee. You're basically motion capture. Like Gollum, but with wings. And more bird poop. Honestly, I'd watch that. Hell, I'd pay twice." Dennis crouched down, his face an unsettling mask of calm logic. "Deandra, think about this rationally. You were never going to succeed as you. But as a metaphorical essence, preserved in pixels, you finally transcend your limitations. The bird is better looking, the bird is more commanding, the bird is you, only perfected." Frank lit a cigar and blew smoke in her face. "Forget it, kid. You'll make more money this way. Merchandising. Think about it. Plush bird dolls, action figures, maybe a breakfast cereal. Detective Birdos. You'll be rolling in royalties." Dee let out a wail so shrill a sound. Tech dropped his boom mic. "They replaced me with a bird." 6 months later, City of Chimeras premiered. Nobody remembered the production delays, the chaos, or Dee's original performance. The world only saw what the studio had delivered. Detective Pike, the CGI bird cop, and to everyone's horror, except Dee's, the film was a hit. Critics called it bold, visionary, the future of cinema. Audiences adored the Hawk Detective's gruff one-liners and trenchcoat swagger. Twitter exploded with memes. "Bird cop is justice." TikTokers filmed skits about Detective Pike swooping into crime scenes. Kids wore bird cop backpacks to school. Bird merch sold. Out worldwide, Roger Ebert's successor gave it 4 stars, declaring, "This hawk has more humanity than most human actors." And Dee? She sat hunched over the sticky bar at Patty's, the only glow in the room coming from an old laptop balanced on a stack of coasters. She clutched a warm rum and coke in one hand, the other trembling as she watched her replacement glide across the screen. The bird detective cracked a case, delivered a perfect monologue, and even shed a single tear in the rain. The audience applauded. The gang gathered around her, cheered like it was their own victory. "You did it, Dee!" Mac whooped, clapping her shoulder. "Yeah, this is basically your work," Charlie insisted. "I mean, they used bird motions, but spiritually that's you." "History will remember you, Deandra," Dennis smirked. "Not as yourself, of course, but as the foundation upon which greatness was built." Frank raised his glass. "To the bird! To Dee's big Hollywood break." The laptop's tinny speakers echoed with Detective Pike's final line. "Justice spreads its wings." The gang erupted in applause, pounding the bar. Dee tilted her head back and screamed, a long, piercing, guttural sound that rattled the windows, scared off 3 customers, and sent a flock of pigeons scattering into the night sky. The bird had flown, and Dee would never live it down.